First off, I want to say thank you for doing this with us. This means a lot to us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Your the email that you guys sent me, the message you guys sent me jumped out right away. So I sent it through to my assistant. I'm happy we're able to do this.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, can we just start off with we want to know what you were doing at our age. Like we're really interested in the sports field, and we want to know if you were like already working in the sports field like at our age, or does this come later in your life?
hmm So how old are you guys?
Oh, so I just turned 18 and Will's still 17.
Okay, so I would have been just finishing high school.
Yeah.
So for me, my like background with sports was um, I played basketball, so I was right in the middle of playing. I was finishing high school, figuring out where I was going to go to college, and hoping to like continue playing and everything. I'm from Toronto, Canada, so my goal was to make it to the U.S. So I was like kind of at that stage. I knew in my head I really wanted to make sports like my life and like my career. I didn't really know what that looked like at the time. I think part of me probably thought like I would be one of those people that would work really really hard and become good enough to play. And then I started playing against people that were good enough to play, and I realized I had probably had to find another path.
Yeah.
So like my passion for sport was like for the NBA was reflected in other ways. So I used to do this thing where they used to release like now there's this thing called the internet, which makes it a little easier. But because I'm like 1,000 years old, they used to have these things called almanacs, and it would be like a booklet, almost like a media guide of the entire NBA that would have every player that was in the NBA, where they went to college, like where what all their stats were and stuff. And I used to like consume and commit to memory these freaking almanacs. Like and to this day, I actually said it to somebody. My ultimate party trick is if you name an NBA player, it would be between the years of uh, probably 1995 or 96 up until maybe about 2-3 years ago. Name any player, I can tell you where that player went to college. Like if you guys think of a random NBA player, I'll tell you where they went to college.
That's pretty amazing. All right. Well, I gotta think it. I gotta think this out for a second. I gotta find someone I think could stump you. We'll get back to that in a second, but we'll have to test that out. Yeah. I I'm glad to hear that because that's kind of where we are now. I know, like we've both played sports in high school. I played lacrosse and I used to play football, but everybody always knows like you're not gonna the percentage to make it into the league is pretty small. So, like our thing was always just how can we take this love of sports because I've been committed. This is it's a hobby for me, but it turned into like my life at this point. This is how I spend my every night just reading articles and stuff and just trying to know as much as I can. So it's pretty cool to hear that we can just keep going and we'll figure it out.
Like now that I work in the NBA and with the NBA and see it, like everybody that works in the league outside of like playing, like people that are like the energy behind the league that creates everything that you see, they're
Yeah.
all people like us. Like they're all people like me that grew up just with like this huge passion about the like it's amazing. We all have like these commonalities and everything, like what you're discussing, like
Yeah.
people at the highest levels of media, they were you know what I mean? Like
That's
it's that
awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
it's definitely that common thread.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. It makes us excited. I know we're right now we're just waiting to find out if we get into to college. We just did all our college applications, but that's our goal. Like the minute I get in, it's to apply to like the sports programs, like trying to just work the football games and really anything we can at that point.
Where did you guys apply? Where are you trying to go to college?
Will, you want to go first?
Yeah, I want to go to Virginia Tech. They have a great program.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
and
what about you, Grayson?
so I applied to Virginia Tech, the University of Georgia, and the University of Southern California.
Man, you got you got some decent choices there.
Yeah,
Any of them
it
you're good.
it was just it came down to my why not reach for it at the end of the day, cause it's what I'm interested in. But yeah,
Man, right?
yeah. If you don't try, the answer's no.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, that's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Uh, I know personally, I was pretty curious. Like, what was your first step? You want to get into the sports field, and you're trying to move that direction. What was your first like real step to move that way, uh, aside from like college?
I would supplement what I was doing in college by I would work at this. Actually, it's pretty. One of the first ones I ever went to was at a school called Hampton Sydney that's outside of Richmond,
Yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I worked at these basketball camps called 5-star basketball camps.
Okay.
So my generation was like it was pretty like it was a pretty prevalent camp. It was like a teaching and instruction camp for like really high level high school basketball players, and it was a little bit different than like an exposure camp. So I remember the one that I worked at that was at Hampton Sydney. That was actually my first time in Virginia. Um, like the campers were like Chris Paul and like Carmelo Anthony,
Wow.
and there was a guy named Major Wingate that ended up playing at Tennessee that was like really really good.
Yeah.
They was like so I would go and I would work at these camps thinking at the time like maybe my path was going to be coaching, and I would go and I would work at these camps and I'd be exposed to like players like I mentioned, and it was just it just kind of opened my eyes to like the basketball world and just kind of like the working basketball community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I know, I've heard of those camps around here, and that'll definitely be something that we end up checking out now, just because we're always trying to find those things that what's another step we can take, because we can study all we want, and we can read everything we want, and we can recite statistics from every game this season in the NBA or the NFL, and know every team's record over the last 10 years. But it's like you have to take those physical steps too.
It was extending myself to getting that real world application and learning like what are the mental and physical makeups of the people that we're actually talking about that are numbers on a piece of paper or whatever it was. And again, like, and it's so true for so many things in sports. Like when I hire people now that work with me, the number one thing like people want to tell you is how badly they want something or how hard they're going to work or whatever it is. And like to me
Yeah.
that's not necessarily like that's not totally like qualifier. Like you should really want, things
Yeah.
that you feel are important to you. You should work really, really hard. But what's the experience you gain through extending yourself? So like when I did those things, I was working like, 14, 16-hour days for like $100 a week. Possibly it cost me more to get to these places to work than I would actually kind of make from them, right?
Yeah.
So it's like little things like that, like extending yourself and putting yourself in an opportunity to see what opportunity kind of comes back to you and gaining as much experience as you can as you're trying to build towards something. Like that's the most important thing when you start, because you just never know what extending yourself, what opportunity comes back.
Awesome. I mean that's pretty awesome. We're really excited to hear those things. Well, you keep going?
So obviously you have a big passion for sports back then and still now, but what was it like getting that first breakthrough as an agent?
It's funny. Like I feel like I'm a little bit um like detached from it in terms of like it was some time ago, but I'm definitely thankful from the standpoint of like sometimes when I stop and like look back and I realize both like how far I've come or how lucky I've been or the opportunities that I've gotten. It's almost like overwhelming, like you see all the opportunities for things maybe to go differently, and then you wonder like, man, how would my life have been different? But I remember for me, like, have you guys ever seen the movie Ocean's 11?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you know the moment in Ocean's 11 where they pull it off, right? Like they got the money out of the casino, they've gone to the airport and everything, and then they're standing there and they're looking at the fountains at the Bellagio, and it's
Yeah.
just like the moment, and they're all just like kind of silent. So in the NBA, when we negotiate contracts, generally it happens in Vegas because it's summer league. So this past summer was like the first summer in the last 15 summers I didn't spend the month of July in Vegas for some reason, right? But what happens is everybody goes there because it's summer league. You negotiate the contracts wrapped around these games. You go to dinners, meetings, things like that, and then you do these deals. And by the time summer league ends, the business for the year moving forward to the NBA is kind of set. So I remember the first big contract that I did was around, I was 27 years old. It was for a guy named Mike James that had a really good year for the Toronto Raptors. Became a free agent. We went to Vegas. We met with like three teams. I remember like the lead into that. So the season ends in like, I think it's around the middle of April. So it's between middle of April and July. So I basically have like 3 months to prepare for, what I feel is going to be like the moment that
Yeah,
defines my life kind of thing,
it's your
right?
big thing.
There wasn't anything I thought of. Like, how you guys think about your college applications right now? You put them in, now you're just waiting to come home and open the mailbox and see that letter. Or maybe it's an email now. Like, again, I'm probably dating myself, but however it happens. So that was me. So I spent like every single day for like 3.5 months, like waiting for this moment for free agency. So we go to Vegas. I'm ready for these meetings, whatever. We sit with, it takes like 2 days. For the most part, like he had such a great season that the offers were pretty much all the same. They were really, really awesome. It was just a matter of making a choice, right? So we do 3 days worth of meetings in Vegas. On the third day, before he goes back to the airport, he told me the team that he was going to choose. He picked the Minnesota Timberwolves. When he picked them, I called the team. He went to the airport, and I was in the hotel room and said, "Yep, he's going to take it." It was like I think it was like a $28 million deal at the time. So I remember telling the team they were really happy, called him back, told him he was really happy, hung up the phone, and I'm standing in a hotel room by myself, right? I'm in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I'm 28, 27 years old. Like at that time, I hadn't really made like real money yet, right? So there's not this thing in the NBA where you agree to the deal and then you check your bank account, and this is not like
It's
the
just
money,
magically
It's
there.
just there.
yeah. So I had this like moment where I was like, I remember I hung up the phone, I was standing in the hotel room, I was like, man, like it worked. Like
You just
now,
did it.
yeah. But I'm also still broke, right? So I'm, uh, I'm like, well, I should do something. I shouldn't just like stay in this room. So I remember like I went and I just walked on the strip. So the other thing about Vegas that they don't tell you is like there is no good time in Vegas. I don't know how people live there to be outside. It's like you go outside at 11 o'clock at night, it's like 140 degrees. Like it's horrible. So I remember I went for a walk down the strip, and I, just like that damn movie, I ended up like in front of the Bellagio fountain, like standing watching the fireworks and the fountains go. And I thought to myself, like, man, this is like that moment from that movie. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I robbed one of these casinos.
It,
And yeah,
it,
it's
yeah.
14 years ago. So yeah, it worked out. That was my moment though.
That was your movie moment. That's pretty cool. I'm definitely excited whenever it happens for us to find our movie moment. But yeah, just feeling it, experiencing it for the first time. It sounds pretty amazing.
Like I work in an industry again, like I'm the luckiest person you guys have ever talked to, right? Like I it's just I'm pretty lucky. um I repeatedly have those moments, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's happened so many other times in my career. Like thankfully now I can like celebrate in a little bit of a better way, and now I have kids, so generally my celebrations are tied to them. But yeah, no, you never lose the appreciation of accomplishment for sure.
Yeah. Will, do you wanna keep going?
Yeah. Put the thing in. Sorry, yeah, I'm just looking over the questions.
It's all right. I got it. We're having some trouble. I'm trying to share a file to him and it's not going through. But I wanted to know, because I've been like looking at sports as a career, and just trying to figure out what job works for me. And with us taking like a media class and film and stuff, it's always just been like producing and something on that front. But when did agenting, like being someone's agent, become an idea, become the thought or the goal?
Honestly, like the job that I took was the opportunity that I had at the time, right? And I'm now like I just turned 42 last August, so I've hit like the stage in life where a lot of people I know um, have been in their careers generally like around 15 to like 16, 17 years kind of thing,
Hmm.
and we all have like um, that answering moment where you're so far into your career, like this is kind of who you're going to be, right? So the thing that I've learned now over the last little time, and you guys will see as your lives unfold, like um, your life as you progress through like your adult years, it's a collection of choices. And it's these small choices that you make that lead you to the things that you do and the opportunities that you have. So like you guys, taking the time to um, apply to the schools that you've gone that you've applied to go to, like that's an active choice, you know what I mean? Like you actively are putting yourself out there to see what's going to happen and kind of what's going to come back kind of thing. So for me it's like I'm one of the people now that I'm really, really lucky in that, like, I know the choices that I made led me to doing the exact thing that I was supposed to do in life. And that's not common for a lot of people like that are around my age. Like they call it midlife crisis for a reason, right?
Hmm.
So I get to skip all that because like I literally, when I'm asked that question, I can say like, no, I found it. And the truth is like, I didn't find it on purpose. Like, and I just, it was the opportunity that I was presented to be an intern with somebody. I didn't know anything about, being an agent or the sports like agent business or sports business really at all, right? I just knew I wanted to be involved in sports. But I remember like within the first week that I started doing it, it just hit me. I was like, this is what I was meant to do like my entire life. And it stayed that way the entire time I've done it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm personally interested in what you do on a day-to-day basis as an agent, and what you when you do for your players as well.
I would tell you that it changes and kind of goes in cycles. I split my
Right.
year up sometimes like into thirds. So the beginning portion for the first like third of my year will be wrapped around we'll call it from like July till about the middle of September. We'll either be negotiating new contracts for the players that I have that have to go places or whatever. It coincides with the off season of the NBA. It will either be altering the situations that my clients are in terms of teams that they're with or whatever, and then helping them just kind of set what their process is going to be for their off-season training, because the off-season training obviously leads into everything that they're going to be able to do for the coming season. Then the next third of my year will be tied around the beginning part of the execution of the actual like contracts that we've negotiated or situations that they are as seasons get started. So to be kind of maintaining that. And then the last third of the year will probably be tied around the acquisition of like new clients, the draft, things like that, and just kind of getting ready for the cycle to kind of repeat itself. Sprinkled in on every day of that is just the day-to-day like client maintenance, things that
Yeah.
come up with people that I work with, and ways that we can help them, things that they need, like just in that situation. So that's every day of the year. And then otherwise like the bigger
Awesome. Um. So yeah, it seems like agenting has always been like a mysterious business to me at least. You don't hear a lot about it. You're really the guys like kind of behind the players, and and you're in charge of setting these like huge contracts. But I wanted to know what do you guys actually do? Like I don't mean that to be blunt or like offensive, but it's do the teams lay down like a certain amount, and what is your job to like negotiate that, or is it just you're the interface between the player and the team?
like you have certain clients where it's really clear and obvious like what their salary range is going to be, and what the contract range is going to be. But more importantly, like no matter who the client is, whether it's somebody that's at top of the league, middle of the league, bottom of the league, what you want to do is like you just want to be able to source out and figure out exactly what reality is, right? Because
Yeah.
like sports are this very public thing that happens in public, and there's a lot of speculation and like you talk about these situations like they're abstract things, and what's lost a lot of the times in this is we are actually talking about a human being, right? So it's
Yeah.
human
Yeah.
being life or career, when they're that person in the middle, they hear the talk like everybody else, right? So what my job is to take the talk about one specific person and be able to have them figure out, like, let's lock into what the truth of this is. And so a big part is like getting rid of what isn't the truth, lock into what the truth is for that person, and kind of creating a market for them. So everything in like sports business and um, the stuff that you're talking about with the contracts, it comes from having like as broad a market as you possibly can. So whatever the specific one number that it is, either that you want or teams that are going to pay, you can increase that number by having multiple people want it. If
Yeah,
multiple
yeah,
people want the same thing, then the value of it increases, right? And
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's probably the biggest like driver of where like I think my value add comes in terms of the bare bones aspect of negotiating the contract.
Awesome. Yeah, so it's just like bringing people in to compete, basically creating a bidding war in a way.
Blunt as you could put it. You,
Yeah.
yeah, you've just defined my life, and I appreciate you for doing that.
Well, we appreciate you for coming on and like talking about it because this is I'm really enjoying this personally. I know Will is too. This is a great time for us.
Uh, I wanted to know what your relationship is like with these players you have. Do you believe in more of like a personal relationship, or in such a business driven world, obviously, how are you connecting with these players one on
Yeah,
one?
I'm really lucky in that. Like I have a pool of like really like just like cool guys. You know what I mean? Like just really good people that I connect with on a personal level. That connect with my family. I connect with their families. Like I've learned about myself in my career now. Like um, I have to be able to have a personal connection with the person that I work with to really kind of be able to do my job in the best way. There's some people
Right.
that I've worked with over the course of the years that, look at the agent relationship is really like a business driven thing. Like I'll talk to you when it's time for our contracts to be done. I need to know that that's okay. We're going to keep some boundaries and things like that. And then I have other guys that really I've been lucky enough that they invite me into their lives, and I kind of live the experience with them and do what I can. Like so, I'm really lucky in that the business backbone of kind of what it is that I do, because at the end of the day, I work for these people. Um, it is defined and kind of strengthened by a pretty good personal relationship. I definitely get a kick out of that.
Awesome. Yeah, great question, Will. One more thing I wanted to know is just how do you sell yourself? Like how the very first time you're getting your first ever client, was it gifted to you? Like did you have a connection that basically told this person that you would be a great agent for them, or how did you get yourself into that position?
Well, in the beginning stage, like what you're actually selling yourself to is somebody to hire you as an employee. That gives you that like platform to be able to connect with and work with people. So the way that you do that and sell yourself is you offer yourself to work for free, right? It's
Yeah.
called an internship. So that was my beginning point there to be able to get some experience. Then with having that platform, that experience, like kind of basis, it's just consistency over the course of time. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
being a person that kind of lives up to the things that you say and do. Like that's, to me, that's the most important thing when we're talking about like an abstract business like sports. You know what I mean? So it's who has the ability to one, follow through on all the things that you say you're going to do and do them. And just consistently over the course of time be the person that you're portraying yourself to be. Hopefully
Yeah.
that's what you are.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. I want to know what it's like to see your players succeed in the NBA. Obviously, you're Jimmy Butler's agent, and he just went to the finals. So, how is that for you?
That's a really good question. It's like one of the most satisfying things in my business life. You know what I mean? Like to
Yeah.
watch him have the experience that he just had, and just knowing like um, just what that path was like to like get there. From being traded from
Yeah.
Chicago, getting to Minnesota, doing everything he could to try and get that going in the right way.
Yeah.
Then he got hurt. I remember when he got hurt, like we had a moment. Um, Waiting in the doctor's office where we didn't really know like what the outcome was going to be and like what exactly was going on with him. and it took like maybe an hour and a half to get the information back, and like probably the most like tense 90 minutes of like my working life. Like we had the
Right.
coaches team, the president of the team, one of his other teammates there, and then him, and we're all sitting in like a small like doctor's office room, and you could hear a pin drop. You know what I mean? Like everybody kind of contemplating, what this meant for them, and we're feeling bad about thinking about situations, and he's in the room, and he's the one that's actually hurt, and he was probably the one that was like the most like put together, if that makes sense. Then he comes out of that, he rehabs that injury, comes back, plays the rest of that season, gets that team into the playoffs over the course of 3 games. Then the off season happens. He makes a decision for himself in terms of his long term thinking, like,
Yeah.
where do I want to spend the next 4 or 5 years of my career? He ends up in Philadelphia. There's some like transitions there of trying to figure it out. They get so close to beating Toronto in that series, and I really think if
Yeah.
they had won that
Yeah.
series, like they probably could have won an NBA championship. Um, Kawhi Leonard makes a shot. Like I live in Toronto. Like when I walk through the airport now, it's a poster on the wall. Like I'll see it every single day for the rest of
Yeah.
Yeah.
my life. Like it's incredible, right? So then he makes a choice for himself that he wants to go to Miami. And it's on the surface, like it's not like the easiest path to having success, but it was the thing that he knew that he really needed and wanted to do. He gets to Miami, and like from day one, you can see like, man, this is the place you were always meant to be.
Yeah.
Um, and then just kind of like fighting against those critics and everything, and doing what he did, and having the season that they had, and then getting to the finals and finally getting that opportunity. And then like two really important guys on his team get hurt in like the
Yeah.
first game, right? And it's just like, oh man. And then literally, like I'm a student of the NBA. I've watched every NBA finals for I don't even know how long. Um, I've never seen anybody outside of D Wade when they played the Dallas Mavericks
Yep.
first championship have anywhere close to, you know what I mean, like what he did. So I
Yeah.
just remember sitting there, and it was interesting because all this is happening in the course of the pandemic, and the way like it's impacted and altered our lives. Like I was sitting in an arena with like 20 people watching this happen, but it's being broadcast to millions around the planet. Um, and my phone, like it was almost like when he gave his phone number out in the press conference, and like 12,000 people called it in the next like 4 hours, that the phone just like melted down. That was my phone, like as
Yeah.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
thing. So like it's just so satisfying. I know how much he puts into it. I know what a 5 a.m. workout in an empty gym and some weird European city that I don't even know where we are looks like. I've seen like all the work that adds into it to have something like that happen. And it's just whether it's him doing that, or I work with Justin Holiday that plays with the Pacers, like
Yeah.
watching him, have the success that he's breaking through, and having like just know how much these people and these families put into these things, and the attaining an actual hope and a dream is just a beautiful thing to be.
Yeah, I think talking about Jimmy, like that finals was probably a great thing for sports in general, just because of course he lost Bam and he lost Goran pretty early on in that series, but the amount of fight we saw out of him was it really is unmatched. That it was an amazing effort out of him, and it's gonna be fun to see him play this year too with the Heat. They're a fun team, but yeah, sorry.
It's the power of the human spirit, right?
Yeah,
Like it's that example of like putting your head down and fighting through a set of circumstances, which is something we can all, relate to right now. You know what I
especially right
mean?
now.
Yeah.
What is it? 10 days left in the longest year of all of our lives, right?
Exactly.
But no, we can all buy into that for sure.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, this has been pretty amazing. I want to thank you again, just real quick, for doing this interview with us. It's been fun for all of us. I would like to get one or two more questions in, and then of course I have to test you out on that you know every NBA player and their college. So Will, if you wanna ask a closing up question real quick.
I want to know, what would you say to anyone interested in your type of career?
Uh, so I would tell you like, well, you can do the opposite of what I did, which is like stay in school as long as you possibly can, get the highest level of education just to make your path as easy as possible. So
Okay.
for you guys, that means like going to the 4 year schools that you've applied to and you're able to get into, and just do as well as you can. Pick a program that you're passionate about. Pick something you get the highest GPA possible. Somewhere around your third or fourth year in college, you write the LSAT. Study like crazy for them. Take like an LSAT prep course. Get the highest LSAT grade you can, and just stay in school as long as you can. Depending on what your family situations are, um, and what the economics behind you guys being in school for as long as possible, what that looks like. I obviously can't speak to that, but I'm a person like I didn't have a great deal of advantages. But once you go to college, you realize like if it's important to you, you're gonna find a way, right? So be those kind of people. Stay in school as long as you can, do as well as you can, write the LSATs, go to law school after school. By the time you finish law school, you'll be somewhere around 23, 24 years old. You'll be in an age of your life where you actually can make some long-term choices, and now you're going to do it with a law degree. So do those things and then figure out from there, do I really want to do the sports thing? Because now you're going to have so many opportunities beyond just sports, right? And if sports is your passion, then
Yeah.
that's where you're going to apply your knowledge. Then at that point, what you're trying to do is like you're trying to get in any way, shape, or form with a company like mine, or somebody that does something like we do, like being an intern, anything like that. Whatever start you get, just take it, build it, make it as big as you possibly can make it.
Awesome. That was a pretty great answer. Thank you for that. So to close us out, I thought I went ahead and I figured out 3 players. I actually had my friend try to find one of the most obscure players he could for the hardest one. So we're gonna give an easy, medium, and hard, at least in our opinion. So we've got JJ Barea.
Come on, man. Northeast.
Okay. And then we're gonna try to step it up a little bit. And Brad Miller.
Brad Miller went to Purdue in the Big
He
Ten.
he did. Wow. Okay. And so this is gonna be our hard one because as of what we know, this man had a 2-point career high in his NBA career. We wanted to know if you knew Jamison Brewer.
He went to Clemson, got drafted by the Knicks.
Did he? I'm gonna check that, Connor. Did he? Connor said he went to Auburn.
Oh, I'm sorry, he went to Auburn, but he was
Yeah.
drafted by the Knicks by Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, Jameson Burr. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Wow,
you got it.
that's
Clemson and Auburn, so I messed that up. But I
I
was right about the Nick thing though, right?
you were, and I mix those colleges up too. That's a pretty crazy party trick you got there.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and sign off on the podcast. So we just wanted to thank you again one more time for doing
Thank
this.
you so much.
It meant a lot, and we're gonna go ahead and stop the recording.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, fellas. Have a great day.